World War II, a global conflict of unprecedented scale and devastation. It was a war that reshaped the world, leaving an indelible mark on humanity. Millions perished, empires crumbled. The very fabric of society was torn apart and then rebuilt. The war's impact extended far beyond the battlefields. It spurred technological advancements from radar to atomic weapons. It led to the creation of the United Nations, a beacon of hope for international cooperation, and it forever changed our understanding of the fragility of peace. The echoes of World War II still resonate today. Its lessons about the dangers of unchecked aggression and the importance of human rights continue to shape our world. We must never forget the sacrifices made during that tumultuous time. We must strive to build a future where such horrors are never repeated. The world would never be the same. The seeds of World War II were sown in the ashes of its predecessor. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, officially ended World War I, but it also sowed the seeds of resentment and instability in Europe. Germany, burdened by crippling reparations and territorial losses, became fertile ground for extremist ideologies. The Great Depression further exacerbated these tensions. Economic hardship fueled political instability, creating opportunities for charismatic leaders who promised radical solutions. In Germany, Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party rose to power, exploiting nationalist sentiment and promising to restore German glory. Across Europe, totalitarian regimes emerged. In Italy, Benito Mussolini established a fascist dictatorship. In Japan, militarists seized control, intent on expanding their empire. These regimes, driven by ideologies of hate and conquest, would ultimately plunge the world into darkness. The stage was set for another global conflict. The storm broke on September 1st, 1939, when Germany invaded Poland. Hitler, emboldened by his previous unopposed annexations, sought to conquer Eastern Europe. Britain and France, bound by treaty to defend Poland, declared war on Germany. However, their response was initially hesitant. Hoping to avoid another devastating war, they adopted a policy of appeasement. They made concessions to Hitler in the hope that it would satisfy his territorial ambitions and prevent a wider conflict. This strategy proved disastrous. Germany, with its powerful military machine, quickly overran Poland. In the spring of 1940, Hitler launched a blitzkrieg, a lightning war, against Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Belgium and France. Within weeks, France had fallen and Britain stood alone against the Nazi onslaught. The world watched in horror as the darkness spread. Section 4. A World at War, Global Conflict and Pivotal Battles. The Second World War was a conflict of unprecedented scale and devastation, involving nations from every corner of the globe. It was a time when the fate of humanity seemed to hang in the balance, and pivotal battles determined the course of history. The war soon expanded beyond Europe, engulfing Africa, Asia, and the vast expanses of the Pacific Ocean. Each theater of war presented unique challenges and saw fierce combat as nations vied for control and survival. In June 1941, Hitler broke his pact with Stalin and launched Operation Barbarossa, a massive invasion of the Soviet Union. This marked one of the largest military operations in history, with millions of soldiers and vast resources committed to the Eastern Front. The Eastern Front became a scene of unimaginable brutality and suffering, with millions perishing in the bitter fighting. Cities were reduced to rubble, and the harsh winter added to the misery of soldiers and civilians alike. On December 7, 1941, Japan, seeking to secure resources and expand its empire in Asia, launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. This audacious strike aimed to cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet and secure Japanese dominance in the region. The attack, which killed over 2,400 Americans, shocked the United States into war. The nation, previously divided on the issue of involvement, now united with a resolve to defeat the Axis powers. World War II had become a truly global conflict, with battles raging on multiple continents and oceans. The scale of the war was unprecedented, affecting millions of lives and reshaping the world order. From the deserts of North Africa to the jungles of Southeast Asia, battles raged. Each environment posed unique challenges, from the scorching heat of the desert to the dense, humid jungles where disease was as much an enemy as the opposing forces. The Battle of Midway, A decisive naval victory for the United States turned the tide in the Pacific. This battle showcased the strategic importance of aircraft carriers and marked a significant shift in naval warfare. The Battle of Stalingrad, a brutal 6-month siege, marked a turning point on the Eastern Front. The Soviet Union's tenacious defense and eventual victory dealt a severe blow to the German army, altering the course of the war. The fate of the world hung in the balance. Leaders from the Allied nations strategized and coordinated their efforts, knowing that the outcome of these pivotal battles would shape the future of humanity. The sacrifices made and the resilience shown during these times remain a testament to the enduring human spirit. Section 5. Turning the tide, Allied victories and the fall of the Axis. Despite early setbacks, the tide began to turn in favor of the Allies. The initial years of the war had seen the Axis powers, led by Germany, Italy and Japan, achieve significant victories and territorial gains. However, the resilience and strategic planning of the Allied forces began to shift the momentum. The United States, with its vast industrial might, poured resources into the war effort. American factories were transformed into war production powerhouses, churning out tanks, planes and ships at an unprecedented rate. This industrial surge provided the Allies with the necessary tools to sustain prolonged combat and eventually overpower the Axis forces. The Soviet Union, despite staggering losses, continued to fight with unwavering determination. The brutal winters and the sheer size of the Soviet territory played to their advantage, slowing down the German advance. The Battle of Stalingrad became a turning point, with Soviet forces encircling and defeating the German Sixth Army, marking the beginning of a relentless push westward. And Britain, under the leadership of Winston Churchill, refused to surrender. Churchill's speeches and unwavering resolve inspired the British people to endure the Blitz and continue the fight. The Royal Air Force's victory in the Battle of Britain ensured that the UK remained a critical base for Allied operations. On June 6, 1944, Allied forces launched Operation Overlord, the largest amphibious invasion in history, landing on the beaches of Normandy, France. This monumental effort involved meticulous planning and coordination among the Allied nations. These successful landings established a crucial foothold in Europe, allowing for the subsequent liberation of occupied territories. The D-Day invasion marked the beginning of the liberation of Western Europe. As Allied forces pushed inland, they liberated towns and cities from Nazi control, encountering both fierce resistance and jubilant welcomes from the local populations. The momentum gained from D-Day was instrumental in the eventual defeat of Nazi Germany. In the Pacific, American forces, led by General Douglas MacArthur, began a slow and costly island-hopping campaign towards Japan. Each island captured brought the Allies closer to the Japanese mainland, but at a high cost in lives. The battles of Iwo Jima and Okinawa exemplified the fierce resistance faced by American troops. By 1945, Germany and Japan were on the brink of defeat. The relentless Allied bombing campaigns had devastated German cities, crippling their war production capabilities. On the Eastern Front, Soviet forces continued their advance, capturing key cities and pushing towards Berlin. Hitler committed suicide in his bunker as Soviet troops closed in on Berlin. The fall of Berlin marked the end of the Third Reich, with German forces surrendering shortly thereafter. The war in Europe was effectively over, but the conflict in the Pacific continued. Japan, facing imminent invasion and facing the overwhelming force of the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, surrendered on August 15, 1945. The unprecedented destruction caused by the atomic bombs and the Soviet declaration of war against Japan forced the Japanese leadership to capitulate. World War II was over. The world had witnessed unparalleled destruction and loss of life, but the Allied victory paved the way for a new era of international cooperation and the establishment of the United Nations, aimed at preventing such a global conflict from ever happening again. Section 6. Legacy of War. A world transformed. The cost of victory was immense. The world had never seen such widespread devastation and loss of life. The war touched every corner of the globe, leaving no nation untouched by its horrors. Tens of millions lay dead, victims of unimaginable violence and barbarity. The scale of human suffering was unprecedented, with entire communities wiped out and countless families torn apart. Cities lay in ruins, economies shattered. The infrastructure of many countries was left in tatters, requiring years of rebuilding and recovery. The war had left a scar on the world that would take generations to heal. The world was forever changed. The political landscape was redrawn, with new alliances formed and old ones broken. The war had reshaped the global order in ways that are still felt today. World War II had profound and lasting consequences. It was not just a conflict of armies, but a clash of ideologies that would shape the future of humanity. The aftermath of the war saw the establishment of new international bodies and agreements aimed at preventing such a catastrophe from happening again. It led to the emergence of the United States and the Soviet Union as superpowers, setting the stage for the Cold War. This new geopolitical tension would dominate global affairs for the next several decades, influencing international relations and conflicts around the world. It gave rise to the United Nations, founded on the principles of international cooperation and the prevention of future wars. The UN became a platform for dialogue and diplomacy, striving to maintain peace and security in a world still reeling from the devastation of war. The war also had a profound impact on social and political movements. The fight against fascism and tyranny inspired a new generation to demand justice and equality, leading to significant social changes in many countries. The horrors of the Holocaust, in which Nazi Germany systematically murdered millions of Jews and other minorities, led to a global reckoning with anti-Semitism and racism. The world vowed to never forget the atrocities committed, and to ensure that such hatred would never again take root. The wartime contributions of women and minorities fueled demands for equality and civil rights. Their invaluable efforts during the war proved that they were capable of much more than society had previously allowed, sparking movements that would fight for their rights and recognition. World War II was a tragedy of unimaginable proportions. The sheer scale of destruction and loss left an indelible mark on the collective consciousness of humanity. It was a stark reminder of the depths of human cruelty and the resilience of the human spirit. But from the ashes of that conflict arose a new world order, one shaped by the lessons learned and the sacrifices made. The post-war period was a time of rebuilding and reflection, as nations sought to create a more just and peaceful world. It is our duty to remember the war, to honor its victims, and to strive for a future where such horrors are never repeated. May we never forget. The legacy of World War II is a powerful reminder of the importance of peace, unity, and the enduring human spirit.